Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to part 2 of What is Archipelo. So, sorry this part is one day late, but it's here and tomorrow should be there on time also. So, in this part, we're going to be talking about the class and skill system, and we're also going to talk about dungeons. So, this episode is going to be different from the last because instead of having videos in the background, I'm going to have little sketches I did real quick in Microsoft Paint. So don't expect any nice graphics or anything. These are just quick things that I drew up to explain little concepts. So I hope you enjoy it. So I think Archipelo's class system is going to be very unique. So what it's going to allow you to do is just change your class whenever you want. So one thing that kind of frustrates me with MMORPGs right now is that you start off the game, you create your character, and you're forced to pick a class and stick with it straight from the beginning. Um, you get a chance to try it, and then you have to, if you don't like it, you have to completely make a new account and everything. I find that such a pain. So I want to have some sort of garrison in the game where players go there and they just change their class. So the garrisons will be in like towns and stuff. So they won't be able to change their class if they're inside a dungeon or if they're exploring on the ocean with their boat. They'll have to go stop by at a town if they want to switch their class. So here are some of the classes that I have planned. I'm definitely going to add more, and the names aren't set in stone either. So far I have the Blitzer class. So the Blitzer class is faster, has a bigger speed, has a speed boost. They can dual wield weapons. So in general, they're just faster at attacking. They do more quick damage. There's a tank class, which is like a heavier variant of the Blitzer. So they have increased defense. They use big two-handed swords. So they do more damage, but they're slower. The Ranger class. So the Ranger is light. They're fast. They have fast shooting weapons. So they're ranged. So they'll have bows or guns and stuff like that. But smaller ones that just shoot fast. And there's the Grenadier. So the Grenadier is kind of like the tank. It's a heavier version of the Ranger. So it'll have big guns like I don't know, like these huge gun things. I don't know how to describe it. But they'll do a lot of damage, but they'll definitely be slower. And I also want to have some sort of mage class. So yeah, I have a couple of classes planned, as you can see, but I'm definitely looking to add more. And also, each class's weapons are completely unique to that class. So, meaning, for example, you can't give a blitzer weapon to a grenadier. It just doesn't work that way. So another big thing in Archipelo is going to be the skill system. So this is going to be really unique to Archipelo. So skills are kind of like classes, except you can have a skill and a class at the same time. So when you start off the game, when you first join Archipelo, all of the skills will be locked, so you won't be able to use all of them from the beginning. But you can unlock them using the upgrade points I was talking about before. So those points where you can upgrade stats. Well, you can pay quite a few of those points to unlock skills. You can decide not to use a skill if you want to, and you'll have like a slight speed or attack bonus or something like that. I'm not too sure how it's going to work yet, but that's little details. I'll figure it out when I get there. So skills are more for supporting other people in the game. So I have a few skills that I've planned already. Again, the names aren't set in stone, and I'm definitely going to add more later. Okay, so we have the Keymaker skill. So this skill allows you to create keys anywhere you are, even if you're in a dungeon. So this is really useful because if just say you go into a dungeon and there's a bronze door and you need a bronze key to open it, but you don't have any with you, if you have the Keymaker skill equipped, you're able to make a bronze key. I'm not too sure how it's going to work exactly. It'll probably cost a couple of bronze ore or something. And then you can open up the door and just get in and collect all the loot and whatever. So they're only going to be able to open doors that aren't necessary to defeat the dungeon. But it'll allow you to get extra loot and it can be really useful. I'm going to have a medic skill. So the medic quite simply can heal players and revive them if they die. And also the last one that I have planned so far is the blacksmith skill. So it allows you to repair and forge anywhere. So you can repair tools and weapons. And forging is basically like crafting. so you won't need to be at a forgery. You'll also be able to upgrade the skills. So using the upgrading points from before, it'll cost more for every tier of the skill you have. So the higher tier your skill is, the more it'll cost to upgrade it more. So what the upgrades will allow you to do, for example, for the keymaker, it'll let you make more key types. So maybe you start off when you have the keymaker, you can make the bronze one, and then if you upgrade it, you can make the silver one, and then the gold. Or for the medic, just say you can heal or revive other people faster, or heal them with more health. So things like that. Alright, let's go on to the next thing in Archipelo. Alright, so next is dungeons. So Archipelo will have dungeons on almost every island. There may be a few exceptions. So the big islands, the ones that are story based, that are part of the main quest, will have custom made dungeons. So either me or maybe someone that's working on the project with me will custom make the dungeon with custom puzzles, with tools you can unlock to do the puzzles, or maybe even custom bosses or enemies. But the randomly generated islands will have randomly generated dungeons. So those dungeons won't really have any puzzles, because it doesn't really work having randomly generated puzzles. It's kind of difficult to do and ends up being repetitive because it's just the same puzzles over and over again. But there will be a lot of enemies to fight and a lot of loot, so it'll be a little bit more like Hammerwatch for those dungeons, just going around fighting enemies, and that's it. And also every dungeon will have some kind of boss at the end that'll give you a lot of loot and stuff, so it'll be pretty cool. So players will be able to redo dungeons as many times as they want, even if they're part of the main quest. So they can refight the boss, do all the puzzles, fight all the mobs, collect all the loot. They can just completely redo it if they want. They can do it with their friends and stuff. So that gives you the chance to get the same loot again, or just get more experience and stuff like that. Also, the difficulty of randomly generated dungeons will depend on how far the island is located from the center of the map. So at the center of the map is going to be the big island of Archipelo. That's what the name is of the game is from. It's the big island in the center. And the farther you go away from it, the more difficult the dungeons will be. So it'll allow newer players starting in the middle of the map to fight easier dungeons, and then they can slowly go farther and farther from the middle of the map and fight much more difficult ones. And like I said before, players will be able to go to any island in the game they want to straight from the beginning, but they won't be able to fight any dungeon they want to right from the start. So there's going to be a minimum level requirement to enter dungeons. So that'll prevent lower level players from going into difficult dungeons that will be impossible for them, and it'll end up costing them. So I don't really want to do that to new players. So it'll be like a progression in the game. So the higher level you get from doing more dungeons, the more dungeons you can do after. So players will be able to team up with their friends to do dungeons. So you'll be able to go in parties of up to 6 people. I'm not too sure if it's going to stay at 6. I might go more, or maybe put it down to 4. But I think 6 is a good number. So they could do the dungeons together, and they won't see any other players in the dungeon. So it's just going to be the players in the party who are going to be in the dungeon, and they won't see anyone else. But the other people will still be able to go in the dungeon. It's just you won't see them. And also the dungeons will be custom tailored depending on how many players are in it. So just say there's more players, there'll be more enemies, and maybe they'll have a little bit of a health increase. So it'll make the dungeon a bit harder, since the more players you have, the easier it is. So you want to make it harder to compensate for that. The puzzles will also be different depending on how many players are in the dungeon. So just say one of the puzzles requires all the players to step on a pressure pad around the dungeon to open up a door or something. The dungeon will put a pressure pad for each player. So just say there's 2 players going in the dungeon, there'll be 2 pressure pads, and once they're both pressed, it opens the door. Or if there's 4 players, there'll be 4 pressure pads. So it'll randomly generate them so that it'll be custom tailored to fit any amount of players in the dungeon. Players also have specific roles in the dungeon. So there will be medics, they'll heal people. The keymakers will open up doors to get loot. So it's good to have someone with every skill inside your party when you go inside a dungeon. Just to have the best and easiest experience. But you won't be forced to have a specific skill or class to finish a dungeon. You'll be able to finish a dungeon without any skill or class, but it won't be as easy, and you might not get as much loot as if you did have a skill. Alright everyone, that's the end of the video. So in next video I'm going to talk about player islands that players claim. I'm going to talk about resources and crafting, and I'm going to talk about TV mode with controller support. So it's going to be very interesting. If you want to support this game and its development, we'll have a download link in the description so you can download it and try it out. It's not super impressive right now. I only have a few features in, but definitely eventually I'll have more. And if you find any bugs, you can also report it. I'll have a link in the description for that. So thank you for watching. Next episode is going to be on Friday, so tomorrow. And have a good day.